Welcome to Crushing with Abby O. I'm your host and body optimization coach, Abby O'Sullivan. I am passionate about helping you navigate your health and self-love journey, and I'll be sharing all of the secrets on utilizing nutrition, movement, stress management, mindset, and more in order to help you fit self-care into any moment of your day. We are going to bust through the health and fitness industry bullshit. We're going to have a laugh, and we might even cry sometimes, but then we're going to crush our day. Thank you for tuning in. I'm so excited to have you here. Let's go. Hey there, and welcome back to the Crushing with Abby O podcast. Today, we are going to be talking about confidence. So I have a special guest on. Her name is Jennifer Jakobsen, and she's going to help us crush it with confidence. I know sometimes, it just kind of escapes you. Confidence just up and leaves the building. So what do you do then? How do you bring that back, or how do you boost it? How do you increase your confidence? That's what we're going to be talking about in this episode. Actually, Jennifer and I met in a Facebook group, a business Facebook or sales group, I believe it is. And so fun. How cool is that? Just like making connections on the interwebs. Jennifer Jakobsen is a certified life and clarity coach for female entrepreneurs and a master's level mental health therapist. She helps female entrepreneurs create clarity and confidence in their businesses and life so they can generate more cash. She does this using her signature 5C system. As a wife and mom of 3 girls who's worked for many years in the mental health field as a psychotherapist and a business owner, she has a unique perspective on how to ditch the overwhelm and negative self-talk and feel clear, confident, and in control. Her passion is to take female entrepreneurs from the place of feeling doubtful of themselves, confused, and overwhelmed to feeling balanced, confident, and peaceful in their lives so they can effectively make more money without stress and still find time to take care of themselves. And guys, I'm all about women who are empowering women. So without further ado, please welcome Jennifer to the podcast. Welcome, Jennifer, to the podcast. It's so good to have you here.
Thank you. So good to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yes, I am so excited to chat with you about confidence and how we can build, gain, and maintain our confidence, especially when we're not feeling it.
Yes, I know. Such a struggle at times, right?
Yeah. I would
Yeah.
love to start with you just sharing more about your background and how you came to be a life and business coach.
Yes, absolutely. In my past life, I was a psychotherapist, and my past life was before I had kids. I have I have 3 daughters, and before I had kids, I did that for many years. I have a master's in clinical social work, and so I did psychotherapy in private practice for many years, and I loved that work. It was so rewarding, so great. And then after I had my 3 girls, I kind of decided that I loved the idea of life coaching even more, mainly because I love the idea of moving people forward. A lot of psychotherapy goes into the past and what people have gone through in their childhoods and the traumas that they've experienced. And so I was like, I want to see what happens next instead of going into the past, right?
Yeah.
So I fell in love with the idea of life coaching. So about 4 years ago, when my youngest daughter went to school full time, I got certified as a life coach. And over the past 5 years, I've been kind of figuring it out, trying to figure out exactly who my person is that I love to work with. And so I've landed on female entrepreneurs. And so I help them in their businesses become really, really clear, which then leads to our topic today, which is confidence. Because I really believe when you have a lot of clarity in your business, once you're there, you start to feel confident automatically. So Yeah.
Yes.
And so that's what I've been doing. That particular niche I've been doing for probably the last year or so. So my whole spiel is that I help female entrepreneurs get clear and confident so they can create cash in their business, because I think
Hmm.
we all need to make cash. So
Yeah. Well, and I love that the greater picture of that too is when you can help someone feel more confident in themselves and it
yeah,
exude that energy and it just leaks out into the world and into their relationships. And we've talked about this like in their health journey and
yeah,
and inspiring others as well and bringing that light to them. So
yeah, absolutely.
I love a greater picture of like empowering women and just making us feel like we like us recognizing our own power and taking it out and changing the world with it. So I
Yeah,
love
yeah,
that.
I agree.
So when I feel like that's a pretty common thing that we struggle with because there's a lot that we have, a lot of pressures we have, and just conditioning and the things that we've been through. It can be a struggle to maintain confidence or even know how to build confidence. And what do
Yeah.
you think generally is what do you think holds us back in that way?
Yeah, I mean, I think confidence, it really, for me, well, there's so many things. It's such a kind of a big
Yeah,
topic, but
for sure.
the great thing about confidence is that you don't have to be born with confidence. Some people might seem like they're born being more confident than others, but confidence is absolutely something that we can build on. So even if you don't see yourself as the most confident person, you can absolutely grow in your confidence. It's not something that's just a static thing. You can
Yeah.
absolutely get more confident over time. And so I think that in terms of confidence, sometimes when we are struggling, especially in business, our confidence can really take a hit. And so
Mhm.
I think for me and the clients that I work with, like being really clear on kind of a few key things in your business is what sort of is the foundation of building confidence. So
Mhm.
for me, it's about knowing where you're going, like what your vision is, and
Yeah.
then also what your mission is, which is what you kind of just spoke to, like that
Yeah.
kind of that bigger
The big
picture. Like,
why. Yeah.
yes, yes, yes,
Yeah.
the why. And why can go so deep because when you first ask why, it's like that might be kind of a surface level thing. And then you say,
Yeah.
and why is that important? And then you
Yes.
say it again, and why is that important? And so you get really, really deep to what that bigger why is. And when you really know that, that's what you come back to all the time in your business so that when you're not feeling confident, you come back to that why and you
Yeah.
remember. And sometimes I have to say it almost sounds a little harsh, but we have to remember it's not about us. It's
Mhm.
about the person that we're serving. And so,
Yeah, that too.
yeah, so if we, yeah,
Yeah.
and if we really know our why, and then we know who we're serving and how we serve them, I think that can really, really build our confidence because it takes us
Mhm.
out of our own head. And
Yeah.
that's what often gets in the way of our confidence too, is the limiting beliefs that come in because
Mhm.
especially if we're struggling, we start to like have these thoughts. Oh, maybe I'm not good enough. Maybe I'm not really meant to do this. Maybe, I am just not a very good coach, or I'm not a very
Mhm.
good, fill in the blank, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's like, who do I think I am? That imposter syndrome
Oh,
comes in.
that was what popped in my head. I was like, imposter syndrome.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And so all those limiting beliefs really mess with our confidence. And so
Mhm.
the work that I do with women a lot of times is really just like figuring out what are those thoughts that we're having that are just
Mm.
coming almost at a subconscious level, right? We
Yeah.
don't even realize they're there sometimes until we can really dig in and figure out, okay, what are these thoughts and how can I shift these thoughts to serve
Mhm.
me in a different way so that I do feel more confident and so that I can really succeed in my mission, whatever that
Yeah.
is, right?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I totally all of that like resonates because anytime that I'm feeling like really stuck or that discouraged or the imposter syndrome, number one, I just recognize it as like, okay, I'm just uncomfortable. I'm in this comparison trap and I've been safe here for a long time. Like I don't need to stay here, number
Yeah.
one, but that deeper why and the greater mission that it's beyond just me. Like, yes, I'm going to grow through it. Great. But it's to, you know, the greater mission is to help empower other people and help them move forward in their lives too. So I always come back to that. It helps ground me quite a bit
Yeah.
to take that, to keep taking that next step, to stop procrastinating from doing the scary thing, because I think we
Right.
just get like, we get afraid of the outer judgment.
Yeah.
When
Yeah.
really like, I just want to say sometimes like I will watch people doing like reels and people get so afraid to be on video and I'll be looking through and you just when you know how much courage that takes to put yourself out there like that, I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, you go girl, like
Yeah.
get on video. Like we all need that encouragement because it is
Yeah.
weird and uncomfortable. And
Yeah.
so everyone's feeling that way. Just remember everyone's sort of feeling that way. And nobody's really thinking about it like you are. They're thinking like, wow, she's so brave for like putting herself out there like that.
Yes.
I've actually
That's
had
so
people say
true.
that to me, and I'm like, well, if you just knew the mini breakdowns that I've had, like,
I know.
if you
So
just knew the
true.
roller coaster, but I think in the end, again, it's that greater mission that drives you and keeps you going. And everyone has a different why and a different reason for doing what they do. So I
Yeah.
guess the ambition level looks different in quotes.
Yeah.
So you would say like maybe addressing some of those beliefs and the thoughts is kind of that first step to starting to become aware and then work on building your confidence
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, absolutely. I think
and
awareness
goal
is,
setting.
yeah. And I think awareness is so, so, so key because, like I said, sometimes the thoughts that we're having are like coming in at this almost subconscious level. So, really,
Mhm.
keying into what are these limiting beliefs that I'm having, and once you know what they are, that's when you can start to work to overcome them. And sometimes
Mhm.
that, even in sessions with my clients, we'll talk about, okay, well, here's your limiting belief, this is the thought that you're currently having, and what's the next, like, what's that next thought that you can believe that's a little bit more in the direction of where you want to go? Because
Mhm.
sometimes we have these like higher expectations. Like if somebody believes,
Yeah.
for example, let's just say, someone has this imposter syndrome and who am I to be doing this, right? And so the opposite of that belief would be, I'm incredible and so good at this. And sometimes
Mhm.
that's too big of a jump. Sometimes people can't buy into that because it doesn't feel real. It doesn't feel like
Mm.
something they can actually believe. So we come up with a belief that is like on that tract almost like,
Mhm.
so they call that like
Yeah.
a thought ladder. So okay, well, what's the next thing that you can believe that
Mhm.
feels believable, first of all,
Mhm. This
and
feels
we'll start.
realistic.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah,
Yeah.
because if you try to believe something that's just too far out of reach, it's too much. And so
Mhm.
you're just setting yourself up for failure, and then that turns into more judgment and more.
Yeah. And that
Yeah.
like is it confirmation bias whenever it's like somebody or and maybe I'm not saying the right one. I was just thinking about this the other day and I was wondering if I was getting the term right. When somebody says like it's nothing ever works for me. And then when we
Yep.
have those high expectations and then something happens and it doesn't work out. Well, I knew it.
Yep.
Like, and it's
Exactly.
that
That is
that
confirmation
pattern.
bias.
Yes.
Yes,
Okay. Thank
that's
you.
exactly what that
I was
is.
like, I need to Google that and make sure because I think I know what I'm thinking, but I just wanted to make sure. Right.
Yeah, it's
But
like
yeah.
our environment, it's like whatever we're focusing on, you will see, right? It's
Hmm.
like, have you ever heard that analogy of like,
The
as soon
the
as you
red
buy a
car.
red car,
Yeah.
you see red cars everywhere, right? So
Yes.
it's those things were already there, but you weren't really focusing on them. So if you have a negative thought, everything else in your life is going to confirm that negative thought. If you switch that thought to a more positive thought,
Mm-hmm.
now you will notice all of the positive things that support that thought.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And I was just thinking this is very similar to health coaching as well, is that you can't just give somebody the advanced task necessarily. So I guess I would liken this to like food logging or something.
Mhm.
Like somebody who's never looked at a food label or tracked or even taken a picture of their food or anything to think about it in that way in their life, and then you send them to go track their calories and they're going to be like, oh my god, like what am I doing? And
Mhm.
then they see that number and they're like, holy cow, because they have all these thoughts and stories about calories and what all of that means. And
Yeah.
it's a lot for people. So we start these things in steps that are more realistic, and then we learn and we get more comfortable and we expand that comfort zone,
Yep.
in the
Yep.
comfort zone of discomfort, essentially.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what
Yeah.
brings you to confidence. Yeah.
Hmm.
Because you
Yeah,
take those small
totally.
steps, and each little step expands your comfort zone. And, like you were talking just a minute ago about, the people who are doing reels and how scary that is.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
it's like, you do a little bit and then your comfort zone expands. You do a little bit more
Hmm.
and your comfort zone expands. And so pretty soon you're like, oh, wow, I've got this really big comfort zone that,
Yeah.
wasn't there
Right.
before. And now I'm feeling so much more confident than I was before too.
Yes,
So,
absolutely. Got to put in the reps.
yep, yep,
Building
absolutely.
those, it's always about building some kind of muscle. It's like,
It is. Yeah, it's the mental muscle instead of the
hmm,
physical
for
muscle, right?
sure. I love that. Yeah, that's amazing. What are some of the like daily practices or regular practices that you suggest, or even some of your own, if you want to share those as well, for people to help to start to build and maintain confidence?
Yeah. So just kind of along the lines of what we've been talking about, I think it's really good to have some quiet time in your day, whether that be, meditating, journaling, going for a walk, just, whatever, laying in bed, staring at the ceiling, whatever works for
Mm-hmm,
you, but
mm-hmm.
to utilize that time in a way where you start to tune into the thoughts that you're having, because that's, again, that is that first step of being aware. And what I think is really cool too is if you can, notice the not so great thoughts that you're having and then say to yourself, what would I rather believe? And then go through your day. I'd almost like suggest like jot it down on a piece of paper, put it on a post-it, put it on your mirror. This is what I would rather believe. And then practice believing that thought. It's almost like a mantra, or,
Like the
something.
affirmations or something
Yeah,
kind of
almost
like
like an
that.
affirmation that you can just practice throughout the day. And if you can just kind of practice that and, like you said, strengthen that muscle, that will help to grow your confidence. And if you do that every day and you just say, okay, like today, what would I rather believe about myself? Just that practice will really help. Also, just notice how you talk to yourself. Notice if you're talking to yourself in a kind and encouraging way, like for those of us who have children, like I always like, compare it to that. Like, would you ever talk to your children, or would you ever talk to your significant other or a good friend or someone you cared about the way you're speaking to yourself? Because
Mm-hmm.
sometimes we really are hard on ourselves,
Yes, absolutely. Mm-hmm.
yeah. So it's like, again, kind of tuning into that and paying attention, and then just saying like, okay, like try to make an effort to talk to yourself in a more
Yeah.
kind way, I think is
Yeah.
really important. So
We put so
um
much pressure on ourselves. We
we
just need a
really
little bit
do.
more kindness. Like
Yes.
I feel like there's times to be like driven, motivated, like work hard, play hard. Like there's times for that energy, but we also get so caught up in that, and
Yeah.
then whatever the outcomes and the goals and looking at what other people have, and you end up losing yourself in that,
Yeah.
and it's just got to bring it back.
Yeah.
I also was thinking about and you can continue sharing, sorry, but if you have more things to suggest. But I was also thinking about like the physical presence, because I like adjusted my own posture at some point in there.
Mhm.
And I was
Yeah.
thinking about, I think we had discussed this before about like the physical presence and adjusting that to even just feel more confident within that. So
Yeah.
going
Yeah.
from like
Mhm.
slumped to
Mhm.
sitting up.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. And that's actually been shown in studies. If you can make your body physically in a kind of a confident sort of stance. Like I think the researcher is named Amy Cuddy, and she's done research about
Yeah.
people going into interviews.
Hmm.
And if you strike what's called a power pose,
Yeah.
you've heard of those? It's
Yeah,
so
it's like
cool.
the Wonder
Yeah.
Woman pose or like
Yes.
Superman pose.
Yes.
Yeah, it's the
Yes.
hand,
Yeah.
it's like the fists on the hips and
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah. So if you do that, and I think it's like if you do that for 2 minutes before, or they had people do this for 2 minutes before going into an interview, and really measured the confidence, and it was just so much more, they had so much more confidence when they kind of adopted that pose before they went into those interviews. So it really
Mhm.
does make a difference. And
Yeah.
I love to even, I mean, simple things just like smiling before you go into, and I teach this to my clients as far as like going into sales calls,
Mhm.
like
Yeah.
really like, sitting up straight, smiling, like just taking deep breaths and getting into that energized space before you go into those situations, so that yeah, so that you have that confident energy before you even go into that call. So
Yeah, absolutely. Like switching your, it's just getting into a ready state for action,
mhm,
switching your
yeah,
energy.
yeah,
That pose, even just doing that, it's like, it's kind of funny. And then you're kind of like, yeah. And it just switches your whole energy.
yeah.
So when I'm getting ready to like record podcasts, sometimes, especially alone, um, I will put on music
Mhm.
that's fun and I'll like dance in my chair and like act like I'm warming up on the mic as if I'm like some sort of singer or something and just kind of have some fun with it.
Yeah,
So that when I go in, like no matter what I'm talking about, when I go in, my energy is there and
yeah,
I'm not like blah, 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 blah.
yeah.
And it's the same, like especially if I'm interviewing somebody, like there has to be a measure to it. It can't be like crazy.
Right,
But I
right.
can't be low because it'll come across and I don't
Yeah.
want that, unless I'm and even if I'm talking about something serious, but it's the same thing like you said with sales calls or going into interviews or even showing up for a date.
Yes,
Like
so
if
true.
or if you meet new clients in person, and it's not always something that we have to think about, but it's on those days when we just really aren't feeling it,
Yeah,
that we need to know these ways to just consciously like shift our energy and work on that so that we can show up and give our best for that short amount of time and then we can go back to
yeah. Go
or
back and take a
hopefully you
nap.
don't go back to that, hopefully like
Yeah,
whatever energy you brought fed you also and
yeah,
then you leave that experience feeling more fulfilled hopefully.
absolutely. I think so.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
love that. I love those tips. I was thinking about that as well when you were talking about smiling, like the energy and the physical part of that. And I just think that like it lends itself and I think it makes a bigger difference than we think it does because we're all walking around like very slumped over. So if we
Mhm.
just took some time to just practice that,
Yeah,
like even on our own,
yeah,
you know?
yeah.
I
I'm
love
doing
it.
it all the time. In fact, this is kind of an aside, but my husband, was having that same problem where he felt like he was slumping a lot, and just to have better posture, every time he would walk through a doorway, that would be his key. That every time he would walk through a
Mm.
doorway, he would, just stand up straighter, and, put your
Mhm.
shoulders back and like really just focus on it, because it's like, it's just these little reminders that we need throughout the day, because we're all so busy and we're running around doing our thing, and so we just forget. So it's like having little reminders, kind of like that little mantra I was talking about, like just reminding yourself, like, what would I rather think today? How would I rather be standing today? How would I rather be
Mhm.
sitting today? And just
Yeah. And
remind
then
yourself.
and then actually doing it, you know?
Yes, yes, yeah, yeah, you gotta do it. You gotta actually do it.
Yeah. And I think even that you had mentioned to me, just that follow through,
Yeah.
just going ahead and doing it. And I would love for you to expand on that.
When you follow through with the kind of the commitments that you make to yourself, what that does is that increases like that self-trust, right? And
Mm-hmm.
self-trust is so important for
Oh my gosh.
self-confidence
Yeah,
too. So yeah,
absolutely.
absolutely.
For sure. Yeah, I've even just listening to yourself too. And that's where creating some space to do that
Mhm.
comes in, and remembering, like, knowing what your why is and getting really clear on that,
Yeah.
because I've definitely had times in my life where I wasn't really listening to what it is that I wanted and I was doing for others, and kind
Mm,
of lost touch with myself. I stopped listening to my intuition, and
mhm.
then, and when you don't, and you make those, you learn, you live and learn all those wonderful life lessons.
Yeah,
And hopefully you can just take that and apply it for the next time and not run the same rat race over and over again.
right.
But it almost, it erodes your trust in yourself, because you think, oh my gosh, I made really bad decisions there. And
Yeah.
that's something that I've gone through in some past, like years ago, like past business decisions, where I was like, wow, you really didn't nail that one, and had to really work to build my trust back up in myself and the decisions that I was making, and knowing, like, I, I know what's good for me. And if I just tune in and listen instead of listening to like everyone else's ideas
Mhm.
for me,
Yeah,
then I know, like, I have, and all of you listening have the power within to really transform your life and really change your life.
yeah,
And I don't even know where I was going with that, but like,
yeah,
just building that self trust is so important.
yeah,
And it does, it helps you follow through, and then it helps you feel more confident, and
yeah.
keep moving forward on whatever your goal is.
Yeah, and I think that's so important because there are so many kind of voices even outside of our own head, right? Like everyone's
Mhm.
like, okay, you should be doing it this way. This is the way this should look. And so, and especially like, I know for me, like I love to learn from others, like podcasts are
Oh
like
yeah,
my passion.
same.
I love, listening to how other people teach things. But I think there comes a point where we can actually be getting too much outside information, and we are not taking the time to tune in and listen to
Yeah.
our own intuition and what
Yeah,
we're
right.
yeah. So like we want to not listen to our limiting beliefs, but we want to listen to the good stuff, right? We want to
Yeah.
trust
No,
ourselves
I
too.
totally get
Yeah.
that, because I love that too. And I'll get to where I just want to learn from this person and this person and this person. And it's like, wait, 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 wait. We got to step back, and we got to see what actually lines up,
Yeah.
and what, like, attune ourselves to it, or find what's in alignment. And
Yeah.
that is a big part, because there's so much out there.
Yeah.
Even like in the health industry with like all the diets. Oh, well, maybe
Ugh,
because so and so
yeah.
said keto worked for them, that I should try that. Or maybe,
Mhm.
like, but you don't even stop to ask yourself if you really want to give up carbs.
Right. Oh
Like,
no.
and if you
Yeah.
don't,
Everyone's just
then
like,
maybe
tell me
there's a
what to
different
do.
way. Yeah. Like, maybe there's a different way if you just take a step back, and confer with people that are not your next door neighbor about what you should be doing for your health.
Yeah, and I think that's so yeah, I think that's such an amazing point that you're making too, is that like we don't even ask ourselves like what feels good for us, and we just
Mhm.
like we blindly follow somebody else's advice, and what ends up happening is we fail because we can't stick to it. Like with a diet, like you're giving up
Yeah.
something you love like forever, and you can't stick to that, and so then we fail. And I think the same thing applies to business. Like if we're following somebody else's advice as far as business goes, and you're not even asking yourself, like, does that feel aligned with me? Does that feel aligned with how I want to show up, in my business? And we don't pay attention to our own inner guidance. What happens is we end up failing, and
Mhm.
that's why I personally think like so much of finding clarity is finding out like what really feels good for you, like getting that
Mhm.
clarity on, who do you really want to work with, and who are
Yeah.
you excited, to serve in your business. Because even though, everyone else is serving, this population over here, doesn't mean that's the right population for you. And going back to confidence, when you really focus on and are true to what really feels good for you, then you're going to get confident and then you're going to have success.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel that so much in the health industry too is um sometimes we're just focusing on the wrong things.
Mhm. So true. Yeah,
Yeah.
so true.
I love that. So what inspires you as a coach to keep going and keep growing and building your business and helping others?
Yeah, well, it's my big why.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, really, and I have a lot of whys, but my biggest why I think is to really just, make a difference in the lives of other people and really help my clients grow in their businesses. And the reason that is a why for me is because that is what I love to do. That's what lights me up. And if I dig a little deeper, like I want my children to see me doing something that I love.
Yeah.
And I want them to see me making money at it, right? Because
Yes.
so often we fall into these jobs or careers that don't light us up. And what ends up happening is, yeah, maybe we're making tons of money. Maybe we're, making all kinds of money and really just, stockpiling this like savings account, or maybe we have these really great handbags or shoes or whatever, but we're
Mhm.
miserable,
Mhm.
right? So it's like, it's not just about, and my my whole thing is like clarity to cash, but below that, but
Yeah.
deeper than the cash is doing something that you really love and something that fills you up so that the people in your life see that happiness. I want my children to see me loving what I'm doing, being successful at what I'm doing so that they know that that's possible for them too.
Yeah, I love that. I think that's an amazing message for the next generations. And even in this time right now where we're seeing so many people leave corporate worlds and start their own businesses, and that is something that I personally have been in the beauty industry for a long time. I'm working with women very closely, and anytime anyone brings like some, I was thinking about like getting a new job, or I'm thinking about this, and I'm like, do it. Follow
Yeah.
your dream. Like, I just love that. It's so exciting to me. And I'm like, yeah, if you think that you would love that, like, go for it. Move to
Yeah.
a new city, like, travel the world, like, divorce your husband. I don't know. Like, just kidding, sort
Yeah.
of, but like what's
Yeah.
really going to bring you some joy. And but yeah, I think that's a really lovely message for people to know, like, you can find things that really fill up your soul with
Yeah,
sunshine, essentially, and
absolutely.
make money doing it and inspire others to do the same. And that we don't we don't all have to, just take what comes at us, or what's been the
Mhm.
the old traditional ways of doing things. Times are
Yeah,
changing. We have a lot more
absolutely.
freedoms now.
Yeah, yeah. And the great thing is you
So
don't have to
cool.
do it alone anymore because there's so
Oh,
many. I mean, the coaching industry is
oh my
booming.
gosh.
There are so many coaches out
Expansive.
there to help you. So if you have a great idea and you're tired of your 9 to 5 and you're like, I want to be a health coach, I want to be a business coach, I want to
Yeah.
be whatever kind of coach, or whatever you want to do, you can do
Yeah.
that. And there's people out there to support you on that journey. So I think it's
Totally.
such a beautiful time that we're living in right now.
Yeah, I have a friend who she's worked in the like college institution, essentially,
Yeah.
and is taking a meditation course. And I'm like, you know what you could do with that? I'm like, you could get on an insight timer, or you could like record meditations for people and sell them, or like have
Yeah.
your own, like you could host retreats and all of this stuff. And she said that actually her husband also likes to do foraging, like out in nature and stuff.
Oh, okay.
And one
Yeah.
of their dreams would be to buy some land and be able to him do that, and her host like meditation. And I'm like, hello. And then I'll do some health stuff. And then our other friend can do
Yes.
yoga, and we'll just have
Yes.
this big thing that we all do together. And I'm like, we can totally make this happen. And I am on board. So I know you're just in the first step, but I'm just letting you know it's all possible.
Yeah. See, and that's that
Yeah.
vision. See, do
Yeah.
you see how, and I know this is like recorded. This is, not a visual thing that we're doing here. This is a podcast, but I mean, your face just lights up. You're like,
Yeah.
oh my God, this would be so cool.
Yeah. It'd be so fun.
And and that's where the problem comes in, is the limiting beliefs. People are like, oh, but who am I? And,
Yeah.
why would anyone buy that from me? Blah, blah, blah. And no,
Yeah.
they will.
Yeah.
And if you have that kind of energy, when you're lit up like that, people are like, yes,
Yeah.
I want to buy what she's got.
Yeah. What Kool-Aid is she drinking? Yeah, I'm just like, yes, it is all possible. Now, I just have to remind myself that too, because I'm right there in there. I'm one of those people too that's building and growing a totally new business.
Yeah.
So all the stuff that I had as a newbie lash artist a million years ago, where I'm like, oh my God, I'm scared to even have a client. Like, the people that I didn't even know that were no showing me. And I was like, phew.
Yeah.
And then I got to where I was like, I could talk about that all day. And so to come into a new space, it's really beautiful. It's a gift for sure, but it's also like, I am also experiencing it. So
Yeah.
there's
Yeah.
the ups and downs, and I just know that's all part of it. And it's a pretty cool journey. So anyway, hopefully that's like helpful to anyone out there in the
Yeah.
same
Yeah.
position. Like,
Yeah. And
don't
it's
doubt
such
what
a
you're capable of, for real.
Yeah, and it's such an inspiration, because you knew, like, you were trusting yourself. Like, this is not like, I when somebody cancels, like, I'm actually happy about that. Like, that's telling you something, right? Like, that's giving you some information, and
Yeah.
maybe this isn't what I'm meant to do for the rest of my life, right?
Yeah, for sure. It definitely got to the point where I realized, like, I've done everything that I wanted to do in this industry, and whatever experiences that's what they were.
Yeah.
And while I love it, it holds a big piece of my heart, but I'm like, I just don't desire to do much more with it.
Yeah.
And really just enjoyed pampering my ladies. And I think at the core of my existence is just really making women feel good about themselves. So
Yeah.
that's the reason I got into aesthetics. It's what I love about personal training and weightlifting, and then into health coaching. And then how my health coach, like, it's taking a shift for sure. Like, I'm not a health coach, but I'm definitely not just like a diet coach. And so there's that growth and transition too. And really at the core of it is just like, I just want women to feel awesome,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah. I know. I know. And what a
yeah,
great mission,
I
right?
know.
It's such
Yeah.
an incredible mission to
Yeah.
want that.
I
Yeah.
know. It's so fun. And I love that you're part of that too. I will say, you spoke of the coaching industry, and a year ago had no clue that there were so many
Mhm.
different types of coaches. Number
Mhm.
one, I mean, I'd heard of life coaches before, but there are so many different types of coaches, and so many women. And I
Yeah.
don't really have anything against men per se. I really love that there's so many women
Yeah.
in this space and sharing their gifts and pouring their love and energy into other people. I just think it's the coolest freaking thing
I know.
ever.
Me too. Me
Yeah,
too.
it's
Well,
so
and I
neat.
think, yeah, I think part of the reason for that too is, I think women just we're natural helpers. It's part of, like,
Yeah,
our makeup. It's like in our chemistry, right? And so I
absolutely.
think it's so wonderful that so many women want to take that natural part of them. I mean, not everyone, right? There's definitely
Hmm.
women out there that don't have that, but
Yeah.
there's so many that do. And so how wonderful is it that, like, these women are now, taking this gift that they have and helping others. And so,
Hmm.
yeah, I
I
think that's,
know.
yeah, so
It's
cool.
so cool. So I would love to know if you have any any favorite books or podcasts or like resources that you would love to share with the listeners, maybe that you share with your clients, um, I mean, really for confidence or just growth or whatever.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, I'm always gonna shamelessly plug my own podcast. So
Yeah, absolutely. Do it.
so my podcast is called Clarity to Cash, and it's really just all about, like, what we've been talking about today, like getting really clear in your life and in your business so that you can make more money and have a business that you love. So I have that. what was your question? What are
Oh,
the
like
other
any
resources I have?
books or any other
Oh, okay.
podcasts or even for like our entrepreneurial business owning ladies, any like Facebook groups that you love. I know we met in a Facebook group and I love Jillian's Facebook group.
Yeah,
And
Jillian
absolutely
Murphy is
like and
great.
you have one too. And are there ones that you like recommend? Because some Facebook groups are kind of trash, just to be
Yeah, I mean, it's really, really hard. I will say one of my very, very first mentors on this journey, if you guys have not heard of her, her name is Lindsay Schwartz. And you should definitely check her out. She actually, I just interviewed her on my podcast like a couple weeks ago.
cool.
So definitely check her out. And she has a really, really powerful community of women. Powerhouse Women is what it's called.
Awesome.
So she's one of my like kind of original mentors. I definitely love her community. And she also has a podcast. She also has a books and she talked about books.
Hmm.
There's so many books. I have to be honest, like I don't have like one favorite like self-improvement or business book that I just recommend,
Hmm.
or anything like that.
Yeah.
I think there's so many really great ones out there. And I think, depending on what your area of focus is,
Yeah.
yeah, but you can always ask another, well, I don't know. I like, okay, what other Facebook groups? I don't know. It's tough. It's
Oh,
tough
that's
to
okay.
find a
Yeah,
really
it
good
is.
one.
It
Yeah,
is
I know
for
it's
sure.
a tough thing because I think, you like we were talking about, I think there's so many women in this space who are super supportive and super encouraging and have that, abundance mentality. And then there's
But there's also
also
the other side of
the
that.
other ones.
I know where you're going.
Yeah.
There's
So,
also, I've seen that in
um,
the beauty industry too. So it's all.
yeah, yeah. And I just want to encourage everyone, like, just do your research. Just start like researching Facebook groups that are in your area and just kind of scroll through, just sort of like, be a fly on the wall and see
Hmm.
if it feels encouraging. And
Yeah.
if you feel like people are really supporting and, encouraging each other, like go for it. But
Yeah.
if you
If it
get a
sucks and it's draining,
yes,
bye.
exactly. If you get a bad vibe, just trust your gut and go
Yeah.
elsewhere. I
Yeah.
have a Facebook group that you can link in your show notes if you
Yeah.
want to.
Absolutely.
It's called Clarity and Cash for Female Coaches and Entrepreneurs. And it's not big yet, but I'm growing it. And it's
Yes.
definitely a place where you can get support, and everyone in there is going to be supportive, or I will very quickly kick them out. So
Haha, I love that. Good moderator. I
yeah.
and I'll have you share your contacts in just a minute, but I did have one other question. What
Yeah.
are some of the ways that you refill your cup so that you
Mhm.
can keep giving to everyone else?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, let's see. I've got about a million ways, but I think for me, like I really have been working on journaling. Journaling is not something that I've been very good at doing. So caveat, like this isn't something that I'm doing consistently yet, but it's something that I'm noticing is so incredibly helpful for me.
Hmm.
My problem is making the time for it because it's not in my routine yet. And so
Yeah.
I'm trying to get it in my routine. The things that are in my routine is exercising. I know you can relate to this, Abby. Just say, like, moving our bodies is so incredibly important. So I try to walk every day. I walk my dogs because
Hmm.
I think they need exercise too.
Yeah. And they
So
love it,
moving,
I'm sure.
yeah. Oh God. Yeah. They love it almost too much. And it borders on not being relaxing for me at all because I'm getting pulled in
Yeah.
every direction. But getting outside and moving my body is really important for me.
Hmm.
And like
Absolutely.
I said, like trying to really bring the journaling in every day is something I'm working on.
Hmm.
And then really just spending time with the people I love. I mean, spending time with my kids, spending time with my husband, making time for my friends. Because I think women need other women. And as much as I love hanging out with my husband and my kiddos, like I really get filled up by hanging out with my girlfriends.
Mm-hmm.
So
Just a
yeah. And
different vibe.
yeah. And really connecting like we're doing right now, like talking to other female entrepreneurs is so important for me too.
Mm.
I do have some friends that are also entrepreneurs. And so those conversations and those times are especially fulfilling for me.
Mm-hmm.
I host, sorry, I'm just shamelessly promoting all
I
my
don't
stuff
care. I
today,
want you
Abby.
to.
I apologize.
I want
I
you to
host a
though.
I host a coffee chat every week. And I'll be honest, selfishly, it's as much for me as it is for the ladies that come in and join, because I love having that time to connect. And, we talk about our businesses, but sometimes we just kind of,
Chit
kind of shoot the
chat.
shit. So
Yeah. Yeah. And I love that because we kind of need a mix of both. And
yeah.
I know I talk to my sister all the time about business, but then we also have these moments where we talk about the most random silly shit. And of course she's my sister, but that's just, I love that we have the balance because we're literally always thinking about our businesses, and we'll literally go from talking about stupid stuff to just like, oh, I just had this idea, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then we're back on it. And but
Right.
we can like, we can talk about this and we can talk about that. And because you need that, like
Yeah.
you have a business, you aren't your business. So sometimes we just need that space again. Like it's all about that space because that's what refills our cup and it
Yeah.
allows us to recharge so that we have that to give back to other people. And
Yeah.
I'll say on the journaling thing that I wouldn't say that that's something that came really naturally to me either. And I don't have a super consistent habit yet, especially now since I'm in a different location this week. But what I've been doing is leaving my little journal at my desk, and I have
Mhm.
these very simple prompts tacked to my wall, and I do those, and it's very quick. And that's been really helpful for me to at least like set that written intention without it, because sometimes I'm like, well, I don't really need a brain dump because I just need to work and put the brain dump into the work because that's what's coming out.
Yeah.
But like it's just like a really quick intention setting type of thing. So I don't know if
Yeah.
that helps, but I was like, oh, having this little journal here because I inevitably sit down right there.
Mhm.
But I also have one by my bed too. So that I have like kind of that one's sort of like business goal journal, like intention setting journal. And that one's like journal.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that is actually such a helpful tip, because I'm always like moving my journal from my office to my bedroom, and it's kind of a little walk in between. So I'm like,
Yeah.
having
Oh,
two
it's
is
in there.
actually a really good idea. And I
Yeah.
also love that you have prompts ready to go, because sometimes I'm like, well, I don't know what to talk about. And I don't
Yeah.
know if I need the brain dump or not. But yeah, having those prompts
Yeah.
is so great to just have
That's
that ready to go.
yeah, that helps me too because I don't have to think about it as much. I just sit down and I'm like, cool, adjusted my energy for the day.
Yeah.
Boop. I just put it
Yes.
back.
Yeah.
And then the other one I use for like I follow Manifestation Babe and I've done some of her challenges. And sometimes if I do any of her little like freebies, I keep a lot in there. And then if I have the feeling that I want to get more stuff out,
Mhm.
and process that or celebrate it or whatever, then I use that particular journal. So as that's kind of a new thing, but I kind of like it. I'm not
Yeah.
hating it.
Yeah.
It's not a pain in the
So
ass or
cool.
anything like that. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. So, I'll have to share those prompts with you because I think you would like them too. 'Cause you know,
And I'll send
business
you mine as
stuff.
well.
Yeah.
I've got
Okay.
some
Share
too.
some
So
journal
yeah.
prompts. So, oh my gosh, I love this so much. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for
Um,
having me. It's so much fun.
what is one last thing that one thing that you would love for our listeners to hear today?
Oh
I
gosh.
know the pressure's
Questions are
on.
always so hard.
I know people ask me that. I'm like, why would you put me on the spot like that?
Me on the spot. Ugh. Gosh, one last thing to share. I would just say to remember that you don't have to do it alone. I think as women, and this is also like kind of the motto of Lindsay Schwartz, who I was saying is one of my mentors. I think as women, we feel like we have to do it all. Like we feel like we need to be strong and we need to, set this example for everyone around us. And I think it's really important for us to know, like, there's nothing wrong with asking for help. There's nothing wrong with getting support on our journey. And if it makes sense, hire somebody to help
Yeah.
you. And if it doesn't make sense to hire someone, if you don't have the money, find accountability partners. Find, there's so many people out there who just kind of need somebody to talk to. And like I
Mhm.
said, I've got my free coffee chat every week. If you just want to like come and just be around other women just to connect, like just know that you don't have to be alone on this journey, that there's so
Mhm.
much support out there if you just go and look for it.
Yeah. And people generally want to see you succeed.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
so.
Like
I
there
think
are
so.
assholes out there, but like that's their problem that
It is.
they hate people
Yeah.
that much.
Yeah. And we don't need them in our life anyway, right?
No.
Yeah.
So let everyone know where they can find you on social media. You can go ahead and mention like all of your things and we'll just have it in one place.
Yeah, yeah. And yeah, so my Facebook group is called Clarity and Cash for Female Coaches and Entrepreneurs. And hopefully we can link this
Oh, absolutely. It'll all be linked in the show notes.
below
Yeah.
the episode so people don't have to
Hmm.
remember, scurry to
Oh,
write it down.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. But if
So
like they're listening and they're just like typing right now, yeah, I'm
yeah,
in. But
yeah.
yes, it'll all be linked.
Yeah. And then so I love having that Facebook group just for people to come and to, feel like they can, get support, ask questions. I'm also really active on Instagram. And so my handle is J Jakobsen Life Coach, and it's Jakobsen with a K. And so those are like my two favorite places to hang out and just, give value and
Hmm.
connect
Connect
with
with people.
anyone. And I mean, I'm always in my DMs. So if you have a question, feel free to DM me on Instagram or, just join my Facebook group. And I
Yeah.
let everybody in as long as you're nice.
Be nice and stay nice, people.
Be nice and stay nice.
I
Yes.
actually, an old job that I had, it was like our thing was like, just don't be a dick.
Don't be-
That was like the motto of our customer service was just like, don't be a dick.
Rules to live by.
Yeah,
Don't be a
right.
dick. Be nice. Stay nice. If you're having a bad day,
Yeah.
it's okay, but just be nice.
I love this chat so much. Thank you so much for
Yeah,
coming on today.
you're welcome.
Yeah. All right. Well, I will, well, I know I'll see you around.
Absolutely. Thanks so much, Abby. I'll talk to
Yeah,
you
of
soon.
course. Thank you for tuning in to Crushing with Abio. If you enjoyed today's episode, please share it with a friend and leave a 5-star review. As always, you can connect with me on Instagram at Coach Abio or drop me an email at hello@crushingpodcast.com. Thank you for tuning in to Crushing with Abio. If you enjoyed today's episode, please share it with a friend and leave a 5-star review. As always, you can connect with me on Instagram at Coach Abio or drop me an email at hello@crushingpodcast.com.